If you ignore what I'm about to tell you, you are going to miss the single biggest macroeconomic wealth transfer in global history. Seriously. While the mainstream media is out there panicking about oil prices, the smart money, well, they're quietly executing a multi-trillion-dollar pivot. They're moving away from an analog system that is on the absolute verge of collapse and into a new digital backbone for the entire global economy. Look, the story you're being told about some minor supply chain disruptions, it's a lie. The truth is, oil flow through the Strait of Hormuz has already collapsed by a staggering 97%. This isn't some problem for the future, it is happening right now, and it is the catalyst for everything that's about to come next. So as the physical world just descends into chaos, the world's largest financial powers are desperately searching for a way out of the gridlock. The analog petrodollar system is buckling under the pressure. Now, stick with me for the next few minutes, and I'm going to show you exactly how this crisis is forcing their hand, forcing them to adopt a new, neutral liquidity layer to settle trillions in energy trade. Okay, so let's dive right into this. To really understand the financial pivot that's happening, you first have to grasp the sheer scale of this geopolitical shockwave. This isn't just another regional conflict. It is a direct assault on the very lifeblood of the global economy. The Strait of Hormuz, it is the world's most critical energy choke point. I mean, think about it. At just 24 miles wide, this narrow passage is the only sea route from the Persian Gulf to the open ocean. That right there shows you its incredible strategic vulnerability. Now, what's so wild about this is the scale. A full 20%, 1/5, of the entire planet's daily oil supply passes through that tiny little strait. So a 97% reduction in that flow, that's not a disruption. It's a systemic heart attack. The global energy market is, for all intents and purposes, crippled. Okay, so let's see how this physical supply shock spirals into a financial catalyst. Because a disruption of this magnitude, it doesn't just stay in the physical world. It immediately ignites an absolute financial firestorm. And you don't have to take my word for it. Top-tier analysts, guys like the legendary trader Peter Brandt, are already sounding the alarm. They are publicly forecasting that these disruptions could send crude oil prices soaring to an unprecedented $225 a barrel. This isn't just some wild guess. It's a calculated forecast based on what happens during historic supply shocks. And this is exactly what that price explosion looks like. A jump to $225 would instantly trigger a global recession, it would shatter consumer confidence, and it would literally vaporize trillions of dollars from the economy. The analog system, it just cannot handle a price shock of this magnitude. It's not built for it. Now, before we break down exactly how this energy shock is forcing the world's largest financial powers to pivot away from the vulnerable US dollar, you need to subscribe to Crypto Global News. Look, it's completely free for you to do, but it gives me the motivation to keep making more explainers like this so you can front-run this massive institutional rotation. And this brings us right to the core of the problem for the legacy system. This external oil shock, it creates an absolutely impossible dilemma for the world's most powerful central bank. They are completely and utterly trapped. Just look at this comparison. The legacy system is caught in a death spiral. $225 oil guarantees a massive inflation spike. And what does that mean? It means the Fed cannot cut interest rates to help the economy. So with high rates and exploding energy costs, the whole system just seizes up. It grinds to a halt. In contrast, a digital system, it bypasses this entire mess with instant neutral settlement. It just works. So here's the crucial point. Especially for all of our US viewers, your central bank is now paralyzed. They are powerless to stop the economic storm that's coming. And this is precisely why major institutions are now being forced to find an alternative settlement rail that operates completely outside of the Fed's broken machinery. This really is the key question for every single investor out there. With their hands tied, what do you think the Fed's next move is going to be? I've actually put up a post on the YouTube community tab. I really want to hear your thoughts. Go over there and let me know what you think. So this is the end game. When the old system breaks, you have to remember, the elites, they don't go down with the ship. No way. They pivot to the new one. So let's look at the inevitable solution they are already executing behind the scenes. So what do the elites do? It's simple. They pivot. As global supply chains fracture and these traditional shipping routes become basically uninsurable battlegrounds, the demand for instant, frictionless, and politically neutral cross-border settlement just skyrockets. And here's the logical progression. It's like dominoes. First, the geopolitical crisis breaks the physical world. Then, the financial shock from that breaks the analog settlement rails. Capital is then forced to flee that failing system and find a digital safe haven. And that leads to the final step, the big one. Trillions of dollars in global energy trade begin to move on-chain because it's the only option left. You need to understand this situation is moving incredibly fast. To get the most time-sensitive information and analysis before anyone else, you have to be in my Telegram channel. Scan the QR code on the screen right now or use the link in the description and join. Don't wait. This isn't just an oil shock. It is the ultimate catalyst forcing the entire global economy into the utility phase of crypto. So the question is no longer if this macroeconomic shift is going to happen. The real question, the one you should be asking, is this. What digital assets are positioned to capture that first $1 trillion in on-chain oil settlement? Now that is the $1 trillion question, isn't it? And I break down the specific assets that institutions are looking at to solve this massive problem in the very next explainer. To find out which assets we're watching, go ahead and click the link on the screen right here.
Stay ahead in the crypto market. Subscribe now for the latest global news and updates.